Have you ever been playing with your Barbies and suddenly said to yourself, gee, I sure wish these Barbies were produced with the same high quality materials used by the LEGO group? Well, boy oh boy, do I have exciting news for you. As it turns out, the folks at LEGO themselves were asking the same question. For the vast majority of the company's history, LEGO's target demographic had been boys. While there were a few attempts to branch out to the girls market before, Belville is truly where LEGO went all in. The theme's parts, colors, construction, and of course, its dolls make it feel like a whole new product, but the elements here remain delightfully compatible with any old regular LEGO set. LEGO Belville became a pillar of the brand and would remain in production for an impressive 15 years, releasing well over 80 sets. There is a lot to see, so join me as we take a look back at Belville's colorful and whimsical history. It all began in 1994 with 4 simple sets, focusing on home and lifestyle activities, raising nightmare-inducing babies, riding horses, playing at the park, and of course, building a family in a massive dollhouse. Even with modest piece counts, the sets were gigantic and expensive, and truly unlike anything else LEGO had ever done before. It was juniorization to such an extent that it would make even Jack Stone blush. Some of the largest and most iconic pieces of the line were the 12-brick tall lattices, which had rounded, corner, and straight varieties. Comparing these to standard minifigures gives you an idea of the very different scale Belville was operating at. Obviously, these are massive elements, but since they're mostly air, they're relatively cheap for LEGO to produce, so designers loved using quite a few of these in sets. Belville sets also really didn't use standard base plates, but rather opted for specialized bricks. Unlike the lattices, these elements spared no expense when it came to plastic. They're thick, sturdy, and honestly just a joy to build stuff on. The smallest of these first sets was Love and Lullabies, a simple baby's nursery that gives you a taste of everything Belville has to offer. The only familiar elements here are likely the primo building blocks. A myriad of discontinued colors adorn the scene: chrome silver, light violet, light yellow, and paradisa pink. Pretty Playland brings a few Fabuland pieces back to life, with the skateboard, slide, and Ferris wheel repurposed as a merry-go-round. Prize Pony Stables introduced what would go on to become a Belville staple: horses. Strangely enough, the 2x2x11 pillar was actually introduced here for the first time in dark pink. And then the largest set of 1994 was Pretty Wish's Playhouse, LEGO's first, though certainly not last, take on a classic dollhouse. 1995 through 1997 continued with more of the same playhouse and lifestyle themed sets, but notably included smaller offerings. Releases during this period seemed sporadic at best, with only a handful of sets released each year. Already in these first few years, Belville seemed to be relying on the same narrow inspirations for its sets, but thankfully in 1998, it was time to spice things up. Belville decided to take a page from Paradisa and head to the beach. It was Belville's biggest wave yet, and each of the 8 sets released was all about some good old beach time fun. The sets feel more vibrant than those that came before, both in their packaging and in their actual pieces. Animals were a huge focus of the beach sub-theme, repurposing the dolphin from 1997's Divers, but also introducing a bunch of new molds that you're probably very familiar with today, like the crab, the starfish, and the clam. You betcha, those are all Belville pieces. The flagship beach set was the Belville Luxury Cruiser, a large yacht that seems to have been designed to float. It came fully equipped with a kitchen and 2 beds. This new route for Belville opened up a door to endless possibilities. Like the rest of the LEGO system, Belville could be whatever it wanted to be. In 1999, Belville would really hit its stride with its fantasy sub-theme. Fairies, castles, princesses, it's all here. Plus, there's crazier parts than ever before. The dolls, while probably of little interest to my 90% male audience, became more elaborate too, with honestly some really beautiful cloth costumes. Fairies in particular would become a recurring theme during this era of Belville, and I've actually got a couple of sets to look at. So this is the first of quite a few sets we'll actually be looking at today. It might be one of the smallest, but the pieces in here are absolutely insane. This is the Good Fairy's bedroom, a 35-piece set that would have cost $6 back in the year 2000. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $11 today. We can start by taking a closer look at one of the fairy figures. They are extremely bizarre, single molded elements, meaning that the arms and legs of these characters are static. Both hands can accept bars into them, so you can see here the fairy is holding a magic wand, and there is also a micro bar in the back which enables you to attach various accessories along with wings. The only somewhat modern use of this material that I remember is going to be the 2010s era Harry Potter sets. They use this as the invisibility cloak, which was pretty cool. There are several different print and color variations of the fairy, most of which can be found in this first fairy tale sub-theme. The other characters included in this set are going to be two cats. One of them is your very standard crouching white cat with actually no printing on it. The other one is a lot more deluxe. The color here is highly unusual. This is very light orange, and this right here is the only piece to ever be produced in that color. The cat is only included in one other set, a Scala set from the same year. There are sellers on Bricklink trying to sell this particular cat, at least in the US, for over $30, but generally this very rare cat will set you back about $15. Ironically, that's more than I paid for the entire set altogether. But that is certainly not the only rare piece to be found in this set. Take a look at the nightstand here, where we have these lovely printed drawers, exclusive of course to this set. You've got a lovely chrome mug, and then a lamp that reminds me of the one that appeared in the Harry Potter for Girls set. One of my favorite lamp designs. Belville sets really are all about accessories, and you do get some extra ones here, like a stickered mirror, a discontinued mold done up in a discontinued medium green color, and then of course it's important to mention that Belville is actually the origin for most of LEGO's most iconic food items. That's why they scale so terribly in relation to minifigures. They were never designed for minifigures, they were designed for Belville dolls. Rather than redesign smaller elements, Belville food stuck around and continues to stick around to today. Kind of awesome. It's a similar situation to what happened with the animals that we saw in the beach sub-theme of Belville. There's also this wonderful transparent dark pink chest, which just has a few gemstones inside. The largest assembly of this 35-piece set is the bed, and there are some truly bizarre elements on here too. A lot of cloth and fabric pieces, like this fairy sleeping bag with this lovely little flower stitched on the front. So cool. And then you've also got this really interesting fabric, almost cape-like element wrapped around the back of the bed. It all comes together rather nicely to create, at the very least, a delightful little accessory pack to expand upon your Belville worlds. I do have the original instruction booklet as well. It's in terrible shape, but this gives you an idea of what all the Belville instruction booklets of this era looked like. They're comprised of actual photographs of the model being constructed step by step. Most of the pages, unfortunately, of this are unsurprisingly missing, but it's just such a cool feature. It's so authentic. I do have one other 2000 fairy tale set too. This is the Good Fairy's House, a 66-piece set that would have cost $8 back in 2000, and this still is one of the smaller sets of the fairy tale sub-theme, but much more substantial than the bedroom. This time around, you get a medium blue fairy, same silver printed details, and the same wings clipped on the back with a lovely bow. You also get one of the very large eyelashed bunnies, an iconic figure to the Belville line, one that showed up prominently a couple of years later in the Belville Advent Calendar, another Belville set that we have indeed reviewed on this channel. The little garden here is very cute. We've got a bunch of flowers with various gemstones on top because magic. There's also two very interesting yellow elements here that you might have noticed. These would have come attached on a sprue of 4 different elements, all of which you can find represented in the set. There's a flower, beetle, bow, and a butterfly. At least for a couple years, Friends actually produced a modern equivalent of this pack of accessories, but the original Belville one is unsurprisingly quite rare. If we go beneath this glass jar, there is a printed minifigure head there with a bunch of strawberries, a really cool printed element, and it's something that I think would be useful in plenty minifigure scale mocks as well. Moving on over to the tower, lots of cool elements elements on display here, like the fence at the bottom, and also these arch trellis pieces. This piece is rather similar to a maybe more familiar element, one that showed up in Fire Brigade at the top of the fire station. But you can see this doesn't have the base on it, it's just a little more ornate and spindly. I rather like this piece. Definitely not as sturdy as the other one, but it looks a lot more refined without that obnoxious base. You've got the glitter transparent dark pink tower, absolutely bonkers, but I love it, as well as this beautiful vine twisting up the side with some flowers on it, attached with medium green 1x1 clips. The interior of the house has some cookware, a stove, a bucket full of cherries, and then hidden in the attic is this very specialized box. There's no studs or anti-studs on it, just a spot for a micro bar where you can attach that bow from the accessories pack. And of course, this is a Belville set after all, so you better believe there's plenty of rare and exclusive elements here, like the medium green flower at the top here. Actually, all of the light yellow pieces here, that's a 6x8 plate, a 2x4 plate, and then a 1x4x2 arch, all exclusive recolors to this tiny little set. Insane. I'm actually quite fond of this set. Of course, there's tons of rare and funny pieces, but there's some good building techniques here too, like this vine wrapping up the side. I think that's really eye-catching, and not something that you see a lot from Belville. Belville construction tends to be pretty standard, so I like when it tries something just a bit more ambitious and creative like this. Typically, Belville's solution will be, just produce a brand new part, or just produce an old part in a brand new color. It's great to see the designers using existing pieces to accomplish a really cool effect. I do actually have a much better and complete version of the instruction manual this time around, and you can see all that beautiful photography on display once again. And this instruction booklet actually goes so far as to give you some alternate inspiration for what you can do with these pieces. It's simple stuff. I mean, there aren't a lot of pieces in this set after all, but it's a great way to kickstart your imagination. I love it. And then on the back, you can see some of the other fairy tale sub-theme sets. 2003 would double down on fairies with the Fairyland sub-theme, a lineup of 4 sets that seem to combine Scala and Belville together. And oh yeah, we really need to talk about Scala. The whole Scala Belville situation is fascinating. Now, Scala had existed in some form since the 70s, making it decades older than Belville. It originally served as a jewelry line, but eventually would morph into even more of a blatant Barbie ripoff than Belville. And all this began in 1997, right in the middle of Belville's run. Yes, LEGO had 2 doll lines aimed at girls running simultaneously, and they're almost completely incompatible with each other. You see, Scala dolls are significantly larger than Belville ones, and much of the Scala connection system isn't stud-based. You'll still see familiar items and accessories here and there, but for the most part, Scala's elements remain exclusive to Scala sets. In the theme's later years, it began to make use of a lot of foam parts for foliage, food, and well, just about anything else. And that's where Scala ties back into Fairyland. Scala would officially end in 2001, but the foam usage found second life in these sets. There's another important piece in Fairyland, the 4x4 mushroom, which is definitely one of my all-time favorite Belville parts. And believe it or not, it's actually the reason I made this video. LEGO of course just recently released their new botanical fungi set, and as soon as I saw it, it had me thinking about Belville Fairy Island. We've gotten a few mushroom prints like this over the years, but not nearly enough. So the new botanical set is awesome for that, even if the pieces are quite large. I hope they let Jonas Cram use these in his next BDP Mushroom Village submission. I'm very excited to say that I do have one of the rather obscure Fairyland sets, and this here is Fairy Island. Fairy Island is comprised of 101 pieces and would have cost about $28 back in 2003. Fairyland, rather than making use of the single-piece fairies that we saw in some of the earlier fairy tale sets, uses the dolls dressed up in fairy costumes instead. So, as you can imagine, everything is scaled up considerably to accommodate that. This set also, rather excitingly, gives us an up-close and personal look at one of those terrifying babies. I haven't too much to say say on this, other than the print opacity is actually remarkably good. Modern Lego could never. The last Belville friend to be encountered in this set is the giant snail. Another truly bizarre entry into the Belville portfolio. No idea what they were thinking here, but you can open up and store things in the shell. Kinda awesome. The facial expression there just looks like a chill dude. So weird. There is a lot going on in this set. Like this boat, one of the rarer, larger hull pieces here. If you've been watching the channel for a while, I've actually reviewed now 3 of the 6 sets this particular mold came in. It does appear in 6 different sets, all in different colors. You got the old brown in the Adventurers Jungle Temple, and then you got black in Forge Junior's Pirates, and this is Paradisa Pink here in Fairy Island. That sail is one of the foam elements we were describing earlier, inspired heavily by Scala, and you've also got 2 exclusive medium lime ores in this set. I love the flowers too, clipped onto the front. That's just a really nice touch. It can dock up to the main build where you get a primarily foam built flower. The idea is that the baby hatches from the flower or something. That's where the instructions have you put her at least. It's a nice little cozy place to take a nap, I suppose. Going up to the top of the flower, you'll find this really fun Fairyland exclusive print. That's the 2x2 rounded tile with the ladybug on top. Really, really cute. The main build is pretty unremarkable. It's almost entirely made up of one of these large Belville towers, a piece that shows up a lot in some of the larger castles. And inside you've got a little makeup station, on top a flower, and another fun lamp design. There's a couple remaining furniture items like a high chair for the baby, and then you've got a table with some really fun muffins. This is the light orange color, not to be mistaken with the very light orange cat that we looked at earlier, and it's the chef's hat, a very popular piece within Belville used for jellyfish, muffins, but never a chef's hat. It's been printed with some frosting and sprinkles on it. Really, really cool. Looks delicious. And it's popped into a salad, I guess, around it. Fascinating stuff. And then the highlight of the set, of course, is the 4x4 mushroom print, a design exclusive to the Fairyland sets, and very, very expensive, unfortunately, on the aftermarket. I've got the instructions here too. I think Europeans are better about hanging on to all of their instruction booklets, and you can actually see the Belville doll fairy constructing the pieces of furniture. Really, really cool. And that's kind of the advantage of taking actual photographs of the construction process. Once again, there's some inspiration for some alternate builds, actually a lot of alternate builds, which is really, really cool. And they're very varied. Each alternate build does not use all the pieces by any means, but I think that gives them more freedom to kind of be whatever they want to be. There's actually one other separate fantasy subtheme that was introduced in 2003 that we need to talk about, and that's Golden Land. Only 4 sets ever came out of the line, but they're quite interesting. As usual, they boast an absurd amount of exclusive recolors, such as the classic plate, a Belville original item by the way, in chrome gold, the parrot in medium blue, the Adventurer's onion dome in magenta, the massive Belville doors in transparent green, and so many more. Then after 6 years of fantasy and fairy tale sets, Belville decided to return to its roots in 2004 with a subtheme I'll dub as Modern Living. The sets are noticeably brighter, more colorful, and just all around more fun than the original Playhouse sets of the 90s. And there were some really creative offerings here, like the Pop Studio and the Interior Designer playset. And don't worry, as always, there's still plenty of crazy parts to be found here, even if the sets look tamer on the surface. Check out this transparent medium green 2x12 brick. You'll find this in the horse stable set for some reason. So awesome. The wave's smallest set, Cat Show, also comes with an exclusive very light bluish gray cat recolor. It averages about $6 on the aftermarket. It's here too that we should actually talk about the dolls. There are 2 different types of Belville dolls featuring different amounts of articulation, and perhaps unsurprisingly, LEGO decided to remove some joints as time went on, just like they're committed to doing in modern mechs for some reason. The later version of Belville dolls no longer featured elbows, and it really makes the arms quite difficult to pose. It was a baffling and frankly ill-informed decision to remove those. From 2004 onward, no Belville dolls would have elbow joints. Go figure. The following year, in 2005, Belville was right back to fairy tales, and some of these sets are my all-time favorites. LEGO created 5 models based on the works of Danish author Hans Christian Andersen that year, which marked 200 years since his birth. Thumbelina, the Princess and the Pea, the Tinderbox, the Snow Queen, and the Mermaid Castle. LEGO truly spared no expense on these, as you'll see with the Tinderbox. The Tinderbox has 82 pieces, released in 2005, and cost about $20. It is exceptionally rare, with only 1 or 2 listings on Bricklink at any given time, but if you're a rare parts enthusiast, it feels like something of a must-have. This has been one of my 2 dream Belville sets for a long time, so I'm really excited I was able to pick it up from the Netherlands. To start things off, we've got a really cool character here, the Witch. I love her attire, the very large broomstick. They were never going to be able to repurpose the Harry Potter ones here after all. And she's got a torch, I guess, which is a very strange build. I feel like they could have done better, but remember, this is 2005. We aren't working with the same pieces that we have available to us today. I unfortunately am not familiar at all with the fairy tale of the Tinderbox, but I have to imagine a giant reddish dog plays a significant role in the fairy tale, because sure enough, you get a giant reddish dog in this set, very much exclusive to the Tinderbox. He's got a drawer in his tummy where you can hide all sorts of various goods, super bizarre, and the instructions have you chain a key around his neck. Chrome antique brass, you always love to see that. It's a very goofy mold, but it is undeniably LEGO. You've got the anti-studs on the bottom. Belville, of course, does operate at a very different scale, so there's a lot of giant items here, like a big transparent purple 6x4 chest. So cool! Even from the outside, you can see all the goodies that lie within, like a chrome silver power miner's crystal, 2 sets of chrome gold coins, and then the other chrome antique brass key. Those always came on a sprue in a set of 2. Yes, the treasures on the inside are quite a thing to behold, but I think the real magic is happening on top. Of course, you've got the wonderful Fabuland jug here, recolored in transparent dark pink. It is probably one of the more common variants, but there's no denying that it looks amazing. There's a frog on top of that, one of the lovely transparent green goblets, and then one of the coolest pieces in a set jam-packed with cool pieces, a minifigure head in transparent dark green with a skull printed on it. Insane! So cool, so creepy, I love that. You do have a stickered book in the set with a sticker on the front and the back. It's unfortunate that that wasn't printed, as they were printing all sorts of these for Harry Potter just a few years before this set came out. And there's also stickers on the inside. Then we get to the main event, which is the Potion Brewing Station. So many of the pieces here are exclusive recolors to this set. You've got the very rare and obscure dark royal blue. Unsurprisingly, just a darker version of royal blue from Knight's Kingdom. That's represented here with a singular 1x4 plate and a 4x4 plate. 2 of the only appearances ever of that specific color. On the table, you have no less than 3 exclusive recolors of the trash can. These serve as vessels for carrying the various ingredients you'll use to make your potions, like frogs, mushrooms again, and snakes. All of these have been nicely diced up. As you can see on the inside, it's just standard pips and stuff, but so cool. And these are all prints as well. The only stickers in this set go towards stickering up the book. All that can be mixed in the cauldron over here with the reddish brown ladle. Pretty cool. I've got the instructions here too, which are really fun. Love the background art. And once again, the set photography is just a delight. The alternate builds aren't included in the instruction booklets, but the seller from the Netherlands was nice enough to include the back of the box, which he had kept for some reason, which does have the alternate models. There's not a great variety of parts on display here. Obviously, most of them are just rare accessories, but there's some creative offerings showcased here nonetheless. What an awesome set. I do have one other Hans Christian Andersen set, and this one is sealed. This is the Princess in the Pea. Probably a story much more of us are familiar with anyway. And I've been hanging on to this for years for the right moment, and this seems like the time. So let's crack this open and see what's inside. This feels so wrong, but it's gonna be so worth it. I was shopping at a store for a completely unrelated reason, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago now. And I saw that they had this set, and I was like, there's no way. I'm gonna be able to resist this. I wanna say it was about 60 bucks, which sounded like a pretty decent deal to me considering how rare Belville sets typically are in the US. I want to be very careful because I'm going to be saving the box. The box is indeed beautiful. It's got this opening flap, which I'm guessing would have been the case for all of these Hans Christian Andersen sets, at least the larger ones like this. And it actually has a comic of the fairy tale, which is so cool. And once again, like the back of the Tinderbox box, you have some alternate builds, but here we go. Opened for the first time. These parts have never seen the light of day until now. Oh, the chrome keys. Okay, so the Belville doll is bagged separately, kind of interesting. And then we also get the fabric pieces, the mattress, the dress. Oh, and then also the chrome gold crown is in there for some reason. You got a heart sticker with a batch number. I don't know. Whoa. And this is some sort of poster that I did not realize these sets came with. Wow, and then there's a lot of words on the back. That's why it's so cool to open these things sealed. They really take a step back into the past here. Anyway, I'm gonna open this up and get the set built. It's a bit more straightforward of a set than the Tinderbox, but still really cool. You get the princess, of course, with that chrome gold crown. That is so cool to see, and that one is brand new. It is as shiny as can be. You've also got the puppy mold. It's about the size of a sitting minifigure, to be totally honest, but it does scale well with the Belville dolls. There's this doorway, which serves as the entrance to the princess's bedroom. The unglittered versions of these transparent dark pink doors are exclusive to this set, funnily enough. I believe that Bricklink said there were versions of these sets that had the transparent medium blue gemstones. Unfortunately, mine had the transparent dark blue, which is far more common. The bed is so funny. It's only made up of just a handful of parts, but these mattresses do a lot of the heavy lifting. Hard to believe that these are indeed Lego elements. They're filled with something. They're rather squishy and quite fun. Hard to repurpose these into a minifigure scale mock, or certainly a Minecraft mock, but they will be prized pieces of my collection nonetheless. You get an exclusive recolor in flame yellowish orange of the ladder to help the princess climb up into bed. And then at the 4 posts of the bed, you'll see these transparent medium blue crystal balls. Some of you might remember that piece specifically from Vladik's Dark Fortress. That is his magic evil viewing ball. So cool to see that return here in this set. And then you've got the nightstand here with, of course, the P, as well as some accessories, a hairbrush, and a stickered mirror. Weirdly enough, that modified 1x2 plate with the little bar, exclusive recolor to this set. And then here you can take a closer look at what those chrome antique brass keys would have looked like on the sprue. Really beautiful color. It is slightly different than chrome gold. As you can see, it darkens in the crevices as the application layers over itself. It just creates a really unique effect. And unfortunately, it's really easy to scratch off. So I'm tempted to just leave these on the sprue for the time being so I can remember how beautiful that they are. That was a fun experience. Really cool to crack a Belville set open for the first time, especially one as cool as one of the Hans Christian Andersen ones. 2006 and 2007 were pretty slow years for the theme, mostly producing just a couple of princess sets branded as fairy tales. There seemed to be a big seasonal emphasis of summer and winter. 2008 would mark the last wave of Belville sets. Fittingly, LEGO decided to bookend the theme with one last round of Playhouse. By this time, LEGO had unfortunately axed many of the colors that made previous Belville sets so special, but there's still definitely lots of fun elements here if you know where to look. Playful Puppy is the smallest set of the wave and probably one of the easiest Belville sets to acquire, as it seems to go for about $5 on the aftermarket. You gotta love that. The dog molds aren't new, but the adult dog's dark orange recolor is exclusive to this set, and it's cool to see these up close. This is the Sunshine Home. At 450 pieces, it is certainly one of the largest Belville sets ever made, and it would have cost $80 in 2008. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $115, but I managed to pick this up at Brickworld in phenomenal condition with the instruction booklet, an extra set of stickers, all for $60. Gotta love that. And as you can see here, it is a massive model built atop a 32 by 16 and an additional 16 by 16 base plate, both of which are of course exclusive recolors to this set. All these years later, Belville is still making use of that same creepy baby mold. You love to see it. And then you get two really well-dressed mini dolls here. I love the attention to detail in so many of these cloth pieces that we've seen throughout the entirety of the theme, but these seem extra special to me. As dollhouses go, this one certainly has all the essentials. There's a big emphasis on the kitchen. You've even got a grill for the father to attend. There's a light brick attached to it, which kind of still works, impressively enough. The dining room is really nice. It's got a glass surface, an effect achieved by using the elusive 8x8 transparent medium plate, one of my favorite elements, something that I use quite frequently in my Minecraft mocks, and it's a piece that goes for about $12 on the aftermarket, so always happy to see one in a set, especially a set I got for 60 bucks. In front of that exclusive recolor of the bay window piece off here in the kitchen, you get another beautiful jug, this time in the far more rare transparent light blue color. And like so many Belville sets before it, the name of the game here is accessories, accessories, accessories. There's so many fun accessories. Golden plating for all of the figures, a big pot, lots of cups all over the place. Teapot up here. Another favorite element here is going to be atop the mantle in the living room. That fruit bowl you might recognize from Aqua Raiders. It's half of the terrifying squid eye from the Aqua Base Invasion set. So cool to see that element repurposed here for something as mundane as a fruit bowl. The bathroom is pretty simple, but there's lots of fun stickers, lots of fun transparent colors. There's a baby toilet, a really specialized piece, and then the baby's bedroom is up above with a crib, a teddy bear, and a special blanket as well. The lamp here is constructed with an unprinted yellow minifigure head, kind of a rare occurrence for this period of Legos. It's usually something they would stray away from, especially for the yellow. They probably could have gotten away with any other color, but cool to see in this set. The set does fold up, though the exterior isn't going to be too convincing. The set makes very liberal use of the lattice pieces that we were introduced to with the very first wave of Belville back in 1994. They're massive elements, once again very cheap for Lego to produce and build up a lot of bulk very, very quickly, helping keep the price down, though this was an expensive model even back in 2008. A lot cheaper now, actually. There's enough rare parts included here for me to feel that this is a worthy send-off to the Belville theme. I got the instruction booklets for this set, and there are no less than 5 to create this model, which is insane. And hopefully, if we take a look at the back of instruction manual number 5, you'll see all sorts of fun alternate builds. I especially love the crazy tower. That would have been a lot of fun to try and build as a kid.
Though LEGO Belville might not grace store shelves with its sets anymore, the theme's legacy is undeniable. So many iconic LEGO elements found their origins with Belville. The hairbrush, the telephone, ice cream, apples, crabs, starfish, clams, carrots, sausages, cherries, bananas. I think it's safe to say, at the very least, without Belville, our minifigures wouldn't be eating nearly as good.
Thanks as always for sticking it out here to the end, and I hope you've learned a thing or two about the magical world of LEGO Belville. This certainly won't be the last time I revisit this theme, as there's so many more crazy sets to take a closer look at. And of course, doing a Scala unboxing video would be a dream. Anyway, that's going to do it for me this time. Happy building, and I hope you have yourself a great life.